and moved me to an edge seat. So it's all right.
Did I ever tell you this story? I was on the first flight down to Hollywood, Florida, which is kind of one of the places that services Disney World.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the first flight when COVID opened back up, free travel, people sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
Bing, bing, bing. And it's a 6 a.m. flight, be there at 5:30. And when I come onto the plane, there's one guy already sitting down. He's got full tracksuit on, Adidas tracksuit.
Perfect.
3 gold chains out, and I could smell cologne from like, I was in the front of the plane, he was in the middle. I was like, and there wasn't anybody else sat down except for him. I was like, my seat's going to be next to him. So
Yeah.
sure enough,
Yeah.
right next to him. So people are filing on and stuff, and I'm just kind of standing up and kind of standing behind. I already put my luggage up in there. I'm looking for another seat to sit in other than right next to him. Flight attendant asked me to take a seat, and I said, I think can I sit down over here? And she goes, no, we're going to have everybody kind of sit in their assigned seats today. Okay. So I didn't sit right next to him. I sat on the aisle seat, and I'm going to put my belt on because nobody's going to bump me over next to this guy. And all of a sudden, the guy yells, "You love life!" And he said it way louder than that. And I was like, oh, shit, this guy's drunk.
Oh, boy.
And I look up, and there is this beautiful woman at the front of the jet, and she's got jewelry on. She's like totally looks awesome for
Done up.
6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she looks great. And she looks up, and he goes, "You love life." And she goes, "Who are you?" And so I thought, oh, they must know each other. So she gets her stuff put away. So then everybody gets buckled in, and we take off. There's some other stuff that goes on with this dude, but I'm not going to. But I'm like, really, I want to get this guy's
Right.
orbit.
Right.
So we get up to cruising altitude, and they take the seatbelt sign off, and she gets up, and she comes back to us, and she goes, "Can I sit here?" And so like I go like that. She squeezes in between the two of us, and she goes, "Who are you?" And he goes, "Who are you?" And she goes, "Why did you say I love life?" And he goes, "I could just tell it." And she goes, Were you at Slammers or something, whatever the bar was up there last night?" And he goes, "No." And she goes, "I was just talking to my friends last night, and I told them that I love life." And I told them that, and he goes, "You do. You can tell the way you're put together, the way you carry yourself. You have a smile on your face even when you're not smiling." I'm like, this dude is not going to get laid on this plane. And she goes, "I do. I love life so much." And when she did that, she had a big wedding ring on, like a serious, this is my lady wedding ring. And she goes, "I wish my husband could see that in me." The guy goes, "Well, he's an idiot if he doesn't." And he goes, "What do you do?" And she goes, "Well, I'm a bookkeeper at this heating and air conditioning place." But she goes, "I'm on my way down to Florida. There's a Sophia jewelry convention that she's a salesperson at." She goes, and he goes, "Is that what you like to do?" And she goes, "That's what I'd like to do." And he goes, "Well, you should do it. Go quit your other job. I bet you're great at this job." And she goes, "My husband would absolutely kill me." He goes, "Fuck that dude, man. He sounds like a real asshole." And so she goes, "Well, things aren't great, but they are what they are." And he goes, "You should follow this Leo Sophia thing." He goes, "I bet you're a great salesperson." He goes, "They're flying you down there, right?" So anyway, they're handing out Cokes, and I put my headphones on, and I'm going to sleep. I have noise canceling headphones.
Does she stay in the middle seat?
Yeah, she was in the middle seat, and the attendant didn't kick her out. Attendant didn't let me go anywhere else, but she's letting this lady sit in the middle seat. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, I'm feeling kind of the row of chairs kind of rocking a little bit.
Oh, no. Really?
So they have a blanket over the top of him.
Oh, boy.
And he's getting a little hand sex.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
At like 7:05 in the morning. Total stranger.
On the way to Hollywood.
On the way to Hollywood, Florida.
He was loving life.
Yeah. It was uncomfortable, but I leaned over and I said, "I love life too."
I thought you were going to say, "You're in my seat. We need a switch."
Well, here we are, boys. Black, Decker, you're back in the States with your Eastern European tans. You look marvelous. There's
Thank
a
you.
glow about you that I have not seen.
Well, we love life.
We love life. I feel very refreshed.
Well, you're back. So you guys went on a little holiday. I think that's what they call it in Europe, right? Is that
They do.
Yeah.
Yep. Holiday. We went on holiday.
Where'd you go?
Well, we went to the Czech Republic. Started in Prague, and then we did a little stint down in the southern part of the country in Bohemia.
Right. Did you guys meet in the Czech Republic, or did you guys meet and then go to the Czech Republic?
We traveled independently and rendezvoused
Met up
when we got there.
Yeah. Met in Prague.
They no longer refer to it as Czechoslovakia, right?
They do not. They do not. No.
So the interesting thing about Czech Republic is that space really wasn't, brutalized by World War II like other countries, right?
Right.
Like there wasn't a whole. Dresden got bombed by the United States, and I think maybe even by accident. But most of the cathedrals and most of the everything that was there prior to World War II was still kind of intact
Yeah.
after the war.
Very much so.
Czech
yep.
Rep is still very well preserved. Yeah, that was cool. And we saw Dresden, too, so we saw a little of the compare and contrast, and it was pretty interesting.
The people of Czechoslovakia, the old Czechoslovakia, did suffer during World War II, especially the Jews. I think there were maybe 150, 175,000 Jews that were killed, and a lot of the other residents were killed for, their lifestyles and other things. But yeah, the war itself didn't necessarily find it. Now, they suffered greatly after the war, and I think a lot of their memorials and their misery is because of the Russians, because of their life under communist rule. But so where did this all come together? Whose idea was it?
Well, a couple of buddies of mine from Central College, we try to get together every 3, 4, 5 years and just, have a long weekend and do a little something.
And by a little something, you mean tickle fights?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, go ahead.
Tickle fights and so forth. And so Paul, who married a woman from the Czech Republic, after he graduated college, he was living over there teaching English and met his wife there. So she was from Zlín, which is where he was teaching, and then they moved to Prague and lived there for a while. So he's got obvious family connections there, speaks the language. And another friend of ours, Brent Manor, is a professor down at K-State, Kansas State in Manhattan. He's actually a European historian, and he had just been awarded Sabbatical. So he had schedule flexibility, and so I think Paul and Brent kind of had talked about it, and maybe as a way, because I tend to from a planning perspective and finding time on my calendar and so forth and work travel and so forth, it can be challenging. And I think they knew they could entice me by adding a bike trip to this. So Paul pitched the idea of meeting up in Prague and doing a 4 or 5 day bike ride. We waited around to see if Brent, it was a little bit touch and go whether Brent was going to get sabbatical. He finally got it a little bit later than he hoped to. And it was I just said, let's do this. And so John and I, of course, riding almost every weekend, I started to tell him about this thing that was coming together, and he kind of expressed some interest. And so I talked to Brent and Paul about it and said, hey, I think we might have a fourth if you guys are open to it, kind of rounded out the numbers. And that's how it happened. It was just college buddies getting back together.
Right. 2 beds, 4 dudes, right? Was that
1.5 beds?
1.5, 4 dudes.
Yeah. It was tight quarters.
John, did you know any of these guys going into this?
I did not. No, I met them in person for the first time in Prague.
So you made friends.
Yep, it was awesome that they were accommodating and willing to take a chance on a 4th flyer. But it worked out great, I think.
Yeah.
Well, Brad, I'm glad that your back finally got around, man, because you were suffering this spring and summer.
Though there were a couple big question marks trying to put this thing together. One was Brent going to get sabbatical? And it was touch and go like K-State. It wasn't clear that they were going to honor it. So that was a big question mark. And then the other one was was I going to be able to ride? I told them I was planning to do RAGBRAI here in Iowa, and that was even touch and go. So when I got through that, I was confident we'll make it happen. And it all came together. Glad we did it.
All right, so let's talk about the logistics of this, because you guys, the pictures, we'll probably put a couple pictures up on the Facebook group, the Deep Dive Pod Facebook group, but you guys had a great bike ride. So who did all the logistics? Who figured out where you're going to stay? And the bike thing is really interesting to me, because it looked like they really had a developed bike culture there.
Absolutely. And we talked about lots of different approaches to potentially making this happen. One was self-guided, we could download the maps, do it ourselves. We talked about flying our bikes over, boxing them up, rebuilding them. And we wound up pushing the easy button. And for the ride, it was organized by, I think it's called Czech Bike Tours or something like that, something really simple. Or Bohemian Bike Tours, maybe. And so it was a company who came and got us in Prague. They drove us about an hour and a half, 2 hours to the start of the route, and they had a predetermined route. It was 4 days of riding, and they gave you a GPS preloaded with a map, a nice bike with panniers and all the things you would want on it to, take food along if you wanted to, pick up souvenirs and whatever. And so they provided bikes, transport, and the hotels.
Oh,
and,
wow.
then they hauled our gear from spot to spot. So we checked out in the morning. We left our luggage in the lobby. Someone came, loaded it up, took it to the next hotel.
Oh, wow.
So it was really quite slick. I think it couldn't have gone much better from a logistics point of view. And Paul probably could have, knowing the language and knowing the areas a little bit, figured it out. But I think we made the right choice by going with, I would call it a light tour. No one followed us. We were riding on it on our own pace and time, but it was well organized. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So-
and I think what we found out the first couple days especially was more wooded riding.
Yes.
Not straight on mountain biking, but dirt trails with roots and rocks. And so we were, one, glad we didn't have our own bikes.
Yes.
And two, the map and the phone with the maps loaded and everything they provided was super helpful, because had we gone on our own, it would have been
Even with the map,
challenging.
we had a few.
So that first time you turned down the dusty trail with the roots, where you're like, all right, is the GPS on? Or?
Yeah. I mean, there were a couple moments where, I will agree, though, with John, with what he said, and we talked about this relative to taking our bikes. I don't think my bike would have been happy. I mean, it was great. It wasn't anything we couldn't do, but it was more tactical riding than I was maybe expecting. We had paved paths, but then we had kind of gravel. We had some rock. We had some mud we had to traverse, some roots. It was great riding and lots of different kind of topographies to deal with. But yeah,
So
it was good to have their bike.
So would it have been the equivalent of a trail bike in the United States, or?
It had a front fork on it. It was like a hybrid mountain bike. It was probably closest to a mountain bike, but geared for doing decent road riding. Would you say, John?
I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
It was bulkier than a commuter bike.
Like
but,
a hybrid.
Yeah,
or-
hybrid, yeah. It was a little bulkier than that. Had a suspension, but
Yeah.
not full-on fat knobbies either.
No, slick, wide slicks, lower pressure that could handle, a lot of different surfaces.
So the guy that came and got your luggage every morning, was it the same guy, or was it like an Uber guy that just showed up and hey?
The guy who picked us up in Prague was like an Uber guy. He was like a subcontractor of the biking company. And his job was to get us from our hotel to the start. Then it was managed by Peter was the name of the guy who ran the operation, and I think his son was involved, and then a few other guys. So it was similar cast of characters, maybe not the same guy every
Did
day.
you ever see those guys?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was where you're the four of you would get around a office phone every morning, like Charlie's Angels, and they would tell you what you're going to be
Around for the
riding.
day.
Hello, Angels.
Well,
Today you'll be on.
Day one was kind of like that in a sense that
Yeah.
we got Ubered to a village where we were going to start.
Yeah.
And met Peter, and he brought us into the hotel that was there. We weren't staying there, obviously, but it was the rendezvous point, into the restaurant side, and encouraged everyone to get a coffee or whatever while he gave the logistics. Of course, our team all ordered a round of lagers.
Right, of course.
And Peter was all in favor.
Yeah.
And I think he commented that he's not sure he'd ever seen anyone kind of go the beer route to start the ride at 9 in the
Right.
morning, but
Right.
that's what we were there for.
Say it's
Yeah.
5 o'clock where we're from.
Yeah. We sent a signal early on.
We did.
And he was good with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when he saw the first thing strapped on the bike was a bottle of Jägermeister.
Right. So
He's probably worried he was ever getting that equipment back.
He knew. He was like, well, I need to raise the deposit on these
Yeah, I
things.
was going to say, would you like to buy insurance? Yes, we would. We would. What is the euro to dollar
Oh, no.
trade right now?
Peter was great. He liked the fact that we were going to have a good time on the road,
Yes.
for sure.
I think he really wanted to be able to ride with us one day and experience it, but his schedule's too tight.
Yeah.
So is this like the A team? Did everybody bring something special every day? Did your K-State professor have?
Yeah. I think everyone had something to bring. Obviously, Paul had the language advantage and knew the Czech Republic a little bit. I would say Brent was probably the most adept at the logistics and the map. He's a good map reader.
Yeah, we deferred the mapping and
I did none of that.
orientation to our other two teammates. And
So
Yeah.
there
I was
were
kind of-
thoughts of taking it over, but we didn't
Right.
want to. We just let him go with it.
So-
A few detours here and there, but nothing too bad.
the
No,
boyish good
nothing
looks,
bad at
the
all.
dulcet tones. That was Brad. And what did you bring to this?
I was
I held
actually,
the
I was somewhat, yeah. You were the chief Tang mixer, chief Tang hauler.
So go ahead. And I'm sorry. What did you say, John?
I said I brought the Tang.
You brought the Tang. Now,
Brought and carried the Tang.
tell us how Tang found the Czech Republic.
Well, it's a great story. When I got to Prague and met Brad at the hotel, and I unzipped my suitcase, there were individual Ziploc pouches labeled Tang Bomb
Right.
that my wife had deployed without telling me in the bag because
Right.
she thought it would be appropriate that we have Tang Bombs on this bike ride. So
God
she
bless her.
made enough to do about half a gallon per day.
You know,
Thank you,
those,
Becky.
those
I kind of
things-
thought maybe TSA would have wanted to look
Right.
at those things. They never did, so it was a nice
Right.
surprise when we got there.
You're lucky they didn't have a Tang German Shepherd at the airport.
Exactly. I'm
It's in here.
lugging 10 individual
he
pouches
barking?
of powder.
There's Tang. There's Tang. He's bringing Tang in. You know, those are the things that aren't put in wedding vows, but the things that really
Right.
let you know your spouse
Big
cares
points.
for you.
Huge points.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
God bless
So
Becky.
every morning you made sure you had enough Tang and powder in the panniers, and then I assume Jägermeister is plentiful.
Oh, yeah, that
that's
was easy
kind
to
of
find.
like they've got herbal stuff, all kinds of herbal stuff over there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, the Beckerhof. There's
Yeah.
a lot of different
It
kind of
was
after
kind of
dinner.
a good news, bad news with the setups on the bike because they had these nice little pouches on the panniers, like exterior pouches, and it fit this bottle of Jägermeister perfectly.
Like it was built for it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was the medium bottle of Jägermeister that fit, so we
Yeah.
had to every morning find a grocery store to buy another medium bottle of
Right.
Jägermeister.
But luckily, you all four had the same panniers, so it was 4 bottles of
Yeah,
medium
yeah.
Jägermeister.
Right.
There you go. We weren't that inventive.
No, we didn't think of that. Oh.
Well, that is delightful. Yeah. The logistics of this, I think, is always scary, and then when you hear somebody actually lay it out, it gets a lot simpler. Like, yeah, I could probably do that.
Yeah.
It's very doable.
Would recommend
we
it to
talked
anyone.
Several times. We chose a moderate
Yeah.
trek, and I would call it challenging. I mean,
Yeah,
we
day
ride
3 especially.
pretty regularly riding, and there was some very gnarly hills, long climbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That were very challenging. I
Yeah.
would say. I
Yeah.
was kind of surprised it was a moderate course, but doable at the end
Yeah.
of the day. The mileage wasn't long. It was
Yeah.
35 to 50 a day.
Yeah.
Your long climbs, were they on roads or were they on
A little both. I mean,
gravel? Yeah, so
we had
there
a
was,
couple
like-
that were on dirt
Yeah.
trail with.
The worst, the
Obstacle.
longest one was, and that was the painful part, was you didn't know. You know, you could kind of see some distance up in, ahead of you, and then you saw a turn, and you hoped that when you got around that, and so that was in the forest. So you go around the corner. Oh, it's just going up again.
Right.
You know, you couldn't. That was a long.
Yes, and there was a major
Nasty climb.
crisis averted because our lead map guy wanted to take us off route.
Oh.
There was a ski lift. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're on a ski mountain,
Right.
and he had determined we could go to the base of this lift and actually, with our bikes, take the lift up.
Right.
And beautiful scenery, easy
Right,
day. It would have required about a mile out of our way to get to the base of that. Well, as we decided not to do it.
So you would have went down the
Uh-huh.
side of a mountain
Like,
that
so
you'd already kind
hopefully-
of partially climbed.
Yes, a different side of the mountain
Right.
to get a ride up. Yeah.
Right.
Well, we decided not to do it, and about halfway through that terrible climb, we go underneath this rickety old single seat ski lift
Right.
that didn't look like it'd run since the late 50s. It was not right. Had we gone to that,
Right.
we
Everyone would have been so
sadly
pissed.
disappointed.
There
Oh,
would have,
yeah.
It would have been like
Yeah.
There might have only been 3 of us at the hotel. that
Lord
night.
of the Flies. Where's Piggy?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Well, very good. So at least the one you were on, you had to be in a little bit of physical shape to get done.
They did have an e-bike option. One of the folks, we didn't ride like with them, but they were on a similar path to us, and they did the commute from Prague to the start, and she was riding an e-bike, so they had an e-bike option.
Were there other people that you would see at the hotels at night?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We had a team. What day was it, John? We called them Team Commonwealth. It was a group
we
from.
didn't encounter them until day 3 of riding.
Was it day 3?
Yeah, because then we saw the next day was day 4 at the lake. Uh-huh.
So you
Okay.
guys didn't roll out about the same time every day. It was kind of
No,
No, we certainly didn't roll
we-
in the same time either
No.
because we would come in under the cloak of darkness.
and we'd always go to get supply. We'd go to the nearest grocery store and get provisions because we had
Right.
to top up our Tang supply or Tang bomb supplies.
like good hobos do.
Yeah.
Start off every morning.
Yeah, We discovered the lasagna, the potato chips that kind of tasted like lasagna. We really liked those for an afternoon snack. We discovered some chocolates with some nuts and berries inside of them. And we made ourselves a little picnic, and then we topped up on Jägermeister.
Right. Well, and how many more miles did you guys have? Was it about 50, 60 miles a day, or
35 to 50.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And so there must have been like
terrible
stuff you could see along. If there's like 50 or
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. You'd ride, even the forest, you'd ride through, then you get out on a road and into a village, or you'd roll up like a couple times houses on the side of the trail that had signage that sold beer and snacks and provisions. So that was our dive bar experience.
Our
So it was like
very first beer stop out of the first town there was this little, kind of like a little pizza sign you'd see on the side of the road, and it said open, and it had beer listed on it. Makeshift little outdoor tarp tent sort of a thing with mismatched furniture and stuff that looked like it came from a garage sale or something, dogs running around. We rolled up and rang a doorbell, and a housewife came down, 2 little kids running around,
right.
served us keg beer.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the greatest.
Amazing. There was
It
a
was
little
fantastic.
outdoor stove where we were sitting that looked like it could have been used. We didn't really determine if it was or not, because some other patrons came on bikes while we were there. And she had to get the kids look like the swim lessons or something.
Yeah.
She didn't answer the bell for them, and they kind of got frustrated. And then a few
they
minutes
took off.
later, she came out, loaded the minivan, and drove away, and left us in charge of the place.
So
It was great. And it was great.
everything in brown bottles $3. Everything in green bottles $4.50.
Right.
Now, before we got to that, it's worth mentioning that we had been on the bikes all about 90 seconds when Brad rode across the highway in front of traffic. It almost ended the ride before it started. But so he really needed that beer 10 minutes into the ride.
I did.
Do you know that if there would have been like a house every 25 yards, Brad would have never got across the...
Right. Right. Well,
There's
and that
another
was-
one. We're going to stop there.
I mean, I think we did discover, because later that day, then we went through a few villages that it looked like there was a pub, but then there might not be any action there. So we kind of adopted a policy, or I was encouraging us to say, like, look, if there's life, we stop, we go in, and that turned out to be a good policy to have.
So it's kind of the equivalent of the kids that have like lemonade stands on Ragbri, except it's housewives selling beer.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no like harsh liquor license they have to worry about.
We
there.
had 3 of these places where it was a proproprietor had just set up a stand. The other 2 were kind of at the end of the day, but it was cool.
That was really neat. It was a good vibe.
All right, let's talk about some of the bars you hit. What I saw something that looked like you were in a cavern. There weren't any windows. You had some young dude whipping up.
Yeah, well, that was where John, we got to know, this was in Český Krumlov, which is a really beautiful town. That was the day that we got in after the long, hard climb. That was Český Krumlov, right?
Yep.
And so we found a cocktail bar. So we drinking beer all day. And Paul, who's the guy who's got the Czech wife, and he's a bit of a cocktail guy. So he would sniff out a cocktail bar. And that always kind of sounded like a good idea after a long day of drinking dark Czech beers and so forth. And so we found this place, got to know the bartender, and we decided, or John took it upon himself to introduce him to the concept of the Tang bomb.
The Tang bomb.
And he agreed to it. So
How old was this bartender?
What'd you say?
Surprisingly older than he looked, right? He was, 40? But he looked, remember, because we were all shy. He looked all of like 25.
I would have guessed he was mid-20s, early 30s.
But he threw his age out, and he was upper 30s or close to 40.
It's because they
But
don't,
he was
they
young.
don't drink Tang over there. They don't put chemical.
He doesn't
powdered
drink.
chemicals.
Interestingly,
Yeah,
we wanted him
clearly
to have
had.
a Tang bomb with us, and he says, "Oh, I don't touch the stuff."
Right.
So anyway, that was what was the name of that place, John? Oh no,
Zappa bar.
Zappa in Český Krumlov. Yeah.
So he was open to the fact that you were bringing this little pouch of
Oh yeah.
orange crystals in, and
Yeah.
he needed to provide the vessel to stir it up.
And he had that, proper stirring. What do you I don't even know what you call it, with a long stir rod. He mixed the Tang in one of those.
Right. So something that's meant for a high-end cocktail is now mixing
Yes.
sticky orange high fruit.
Yes. Exactly. Are you trying to find the picture?
We have the pictures of him. I was getting ahead of the story and looking for the
okay.
pictures of the quintessential dive bar that I
right.
want to talk about. But.
So is it just the 4 of you and the bartender in there? What's going on in this bar?
The Tang Bomb Bar, the cocktail
Yeah.
bar? No, it was a crowded place each night. Sleepy little town, but the cocktail bars were very crowded, and so there was a group of patrons at the bar that were intrigued, of course,
Right.
by what was going down with powders being handed over under the table in clandestine fashion to the bar,
Right.
and him mixing it up, and so. We
Yeah.
went through. We
They
introduced
joined
Tang
us.
bombs to the people at the bar, and yeah.
So when you introduce something like that to people that aren't necessarily familiar with Tang, I'm assuming they're familiar with Jägermeister, but do you hope that the payoff is every bit as good, or did they react like it was Malort? Did they, "Ugh."
Oh no,
No.
everyone enjoyed it as
Yeah.
far as I can recall.
Yeah, no, they expressed surprise at how good it tasted.
Yeah,
Yeah, and Christopher, what was it?
yeah. I think the bartender
his
was
name.
Christopher.
He
yeah.
did say that he grew up with he called it Tango
Mm-hmm.
at his grandmother's house as a kid.
Right.
So it wasn't a completely unfamiliar concept. Of course,
Yeah.
the bomb itself and mixing with Jaeger was an unfamiliar concept.
Right.
But
No,
Did
Yeah.
you guys have anything new there that you had not tried before that you found good or not so good?
we did. On the food side, we dined on carp one night.
Oh,
Which,
we did.
uh,
That was the first night.
yeah,
right.
first night off the ride,
Yeah,
we were in a
Trebon.
town, Trebon, famous for carp. That
Yeah.
was the restaurant we went to. Carp was it.
Yeah.
They did have a steak option, but everyone told us we had to get this, and it wasn't like a smoked carp that you would think would be the only thing you'd eat here. It was done
Yeah.
like sautéed with vegetables.
Oh,
and-
it was quite a nice presentation. It looked better than it was.
yeah.
It was,
At the end of the
an
day,
elevated presentation.
it was carp.
but Yeah, it was carp.
So, carp is their national fish meal.
Yes.
Carp farming started in the Czech lands back at the 12th century. So, carp farming, so ponds that would
Yeah.
raise
Oh, yeah.
carp, they would breed them, and that was part of the religious celebrations. So, Christmas is a fasting day for them, and they would break the fast with a carp. Christmas tables were not Christmas table without having a carp on the table.
And they will get the carp ahead of time before Christmas and keep it alive in their bathtubs. And that's true.
No,
that's a true story, right?
Yeah, they vouched for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul talked about it, and several local Czechs agreed that yes, that's a practice.
The first carp recipe showed up in a Christmas Czech cookbook in 1826. It's the symbol of Christianity and seen all around the Czech Republic on signs. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you partook in carp, which here in the United States is kind of I don't want to say a junk fish, but there's a lot of bones.
So the
A
dinner
lot of
we
bones.
had, as Brad said, the presentation was spot on. It
was great.
looked like it would have been a nice piece of swordfish or something. It tasted terrible.
Right.
There's no hiding it. It was awful. We got it through as best we could. Brad and I retreated back to the hotel bar and got whiskey and cheesecake to kind of wash it down.
Yeah, we did.
The
we
next
did.
morning, there was two huge misses. The next morning, we
Yeah.
got up, we rode to a park, beautiful setting by the lake. They had a little boathouse thing that they were selling drinks and stuff from. So Brad and I got a beer. The boys got a coffee. Brad was eyeing this.
You were eyeing
This-
it.
Well, I eyed it first and thought, wow, that's an interesting looking piece of smoked fish. Brad had a little drool on the edge of his. He thought he's looking at an apple strudel.
It was under like what you would
Like, it
see
was
at
under a cake.
like a coffee cake, clear
Oh, like a
little,
cake dish or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, to keep the flies and stuff off and keep it
was
fresh.
sitting. It's
So
like,
the
I thought it
fir-
was some kind of
Yeah, so not only did he
glazed donut.
think it, he
Right.
just robustly mocked me. He's just laughing, a hearty garoff that I
Right.
thought it was a fish.
Right.
I should have let him buy it, thinking he's going to have a nice morning apple strudel. But we did end up buying it.
Yes, you
with
bought
the
the stuff.
intent of this will be great with a cold beer down the road.
yeah. A little
So-
more car because we got rave reviews the night before. So
Yeah.
let's,
So I had put the smoked carp in my bike bag.
How'd you carry it?
In my bike bag.
I know, but did you have like?
didn't you wrap it
did
in a sock or
case-
something?
Wrap it in a sock. That's the Czech national way of it's carrying carp is in a sock.
So the miss on this is it stayed in that bike bag for 2 days.
yeah.
And the momentum from Paul especially was this is smoked, it's
It'll
built to
be
last.
great,
This is our forefathers carried this stuff around for months during the war.
Right.
We were going to get into it like day 2.
Right.
It was looking a little dicier that it didn't resemble an apple strudel on day 2.
Right.
No.
I made the executive decision to pitch it in the woods, so we
Yeah.
got rid of it. So we never did enjoy the smoked carp. The final closer on the carp story. The last night in Prague, we went to a Michelin star restaurant, kind
We
of
did.
a celebratory meal.
We did.
they served as part of their appetizer course a bite-sized flash-fried carp that was actually pretty amazing.
It was really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
It was
so
a
there was
small-
some redemption. Maybe they
Yes.
know what they're doing with carp.
Yeah.
Trabant, we just didn't get the best experience, but
I one time
I'm glad we did it.
yes.
saw Amy Bean Blossom eat a hard-boiled egg and a chicken wing that had been in her bike bag for 4 days.
Oh, that's, yeah.
With the
Good
best
on you.
I could tell, no repercussions. There
Yeah?
was nothing. She was out all night and up in the morning.
Right.
So
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
smoked carp probably would have been fine, but,
man.
but we erred on the side of caution.
Yeah.
So at any point, did you have any ugly American experiences, or was it you're pretty?
I can't say we had that, did we?
I mean, the closest thing to ugly American behavior this is my opinion, John, you can agree or not, but John mentioned that we started with this briefing, and Peter, this really sweet man, very patiently took us through, and they had done a lot of legwork. They had a little 3-ring binder with laminated pages to tell you like what's going on in each town you're going to pass through. It had topographical maps.
Did you carry that with you, or they?
Yeah,
did?
They gave it to us. John and I didn't look at it. We
Right.
gave it to the professor,
Right.
the guy's book. So
You guys that
but
read,
yes.
look at this.
Yeah, exactly. So, but they had gone to great lengths to. They gave us a physical map that folded out, a big one, and then they gave us a GPS. It was an Android phone with a map, pre-dialed in. So like. All you got to do is follow the map like you would on your phone. And I would say this couple, they were both well-intended people and everything else, but the gal was the biggest pain in the ass you can ever imagine on every single thing that Peter was explaining.
Yeah.
She had to have
Was she the contrarian?
like thinking of every single thing that could go wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So like, how do I hook up this to can I put my Bluetooth earbuds connect to this Android? I don't have an Android. How does an Android work? How long does it stay lit? When it stays lit, does it drain the battery? What if the battery goes dead?
Right.
It was like, we're just kind of sitting there going, oh my God, Sean sent a great text to the group during this. And you're just kind of thinking, this poor guy has kind of thought of everything.
Right.
But,
Right.
But-
except pairing a Bluetooth device.
except, yeah,
Yes.
it was,
I mean, right down to the details. She had some kind of complaint about the pedals on the thing when she
Yeah.
got out on her bike, and then
Yeah.
she opted for
Oh,
the
yeah.
e-bike.
yes.
And 5 minutes down the trail, the 75-pound bike. Well, you ordered the moped with an engine.
Right.
It's going to
Right.
be a little heavier.
She complained about the phone. She complained about the routes. She complained about surfaces. I'd say that was somewhat like I wasn't proud. I wasn't like I thought to myself, Peter, I'm sorry that you have to deal with it. We're going to try to
Right.
make it as
Yeah.
easy as possible on
Right.
you because I'm sure that you deal with this. Isn't the first or the last time he's going to have some person who comes in and expects
So we encountered this couple on average once or twice a day, maybe,
Yeah.
sporadically through. We weren't riding with them by any means, but we were kind of on the same pathway, of course. I had tried on a couple occasions to give her the hint that,
Oh yeah, Mark can ride with us.
Yes. Her husband, who we could tell really was interested in just gravitating in with us and
Right.
let her do her own thing, but he wasn't there yet.
If you could have fit her into a bag and had her picked up at the hotel every morning.
Absolutely. Or if he could have thrown
Poor
her
guy.
if he could have thrown her in the woods with that smoked carp, he might have done that too. But
Poor guy. Yeah.
one day after a slight mishap on our map skills, we decided we'd take a quick break outside the town and get a Tang bomb. And here come the couple. And
Yes.
Mark is like eyeing us as they approach. And
Yes.
Brad and I weren't taking no for an answer. We kind of got him to stop his bike and told him
Yeah.
that he was taking a Tang bomb and we
Yeah.
were going to introduce him to this. And Karina, she
Kept
was
on.
having nothing to do with it. She hit the hammer on that e-bike and just kept going.
Yeah.
Karina
Yeah.
is so close to Karen.
Yeah.
Yes.
She had Karen tendencies. No, that was the day that we found what I think was probably our quintessential dive bar.
Yes.
With they were open and it was clearly the manager or the main bartender talking to, I think it was the postman maybe. And she was sitting outside having a cigarette
Yep.
and they were having coffee and we rolled in. I don't know. It was maybe 10 or something. I don't know what time it was. It was early.
It was a little earlier than that even. Yeah.
And we rolled up, and she was very happy to get some beers going. And I think that was one where she tried to speak German to us. I think so. Both Brent and Paul speak German, and then Paul speaks Czech too. And she wasn't able to banter in English, but that place was a killer dive bar. So it was after that experience that we were leaving, and they had the sign that said "Ahoy," which is like their hello and goodbye.
Right.
And so we're getting our picture taken by this Ahoy sign, and here comes the San Franciscans. and he stopped, and it was kind of my mission
Yeah.
to get a Tang bomb in him. So she kind of kept on riding, and I was like, this is my chance. And so we did. And he enjoyed it.
He enjoyed it.
It was good.
He wanted to stay so badly, but
Cigarette is the meal you eat between breakfast carp and lunch carp, right?
Right.
That's what they eat over. There's the cigarette.
Palate cleanser.
the dive bar we stopped at, it was fantastic. We sat outside. She got us a round of beers, and it was earlier than 10 because, as you recall, some regulars showed up, like morning regulars.
yeah,
and
you're
we were
right.
actually there before the morning regulars.
right.
So they kind of come in. They're like,
She pre-opened for us.
yeah, they're like
What did
kind
you
of
say?
side eyeing, like,
Yeah.
who are the dudes that beat us here, right? And
Right. Yeah.
and then the real treasure, we went inside to use the restroom, and
Yeah.
you went into this place, and very hilltop-esque vibes.
Very
maybe.
much so.
Foosball table, old kind of distress, not
Sure.
a world class
Yeah.
modern comedy.
Yeah.
Ray
It's been
wouldn't
played
approve,
before, yeah.
but
Oh, I like distressed foosball tables.
and then they had a little courtyardish green space as you went towards the
were
restroom.
hanging-
There was laundry hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One pot plant growing. I mean, it checked all
Right.
the
Yeah,
boxes.
they
It was
had
phenomenal.
they had some weed growing back there. They had
Right.
a Bob Marley sign.
Yeah.
The bathroom was freaking awesome.
Right.
And yeah, I mean the regulars were regular. No food. It was just like you could smokes.
Right. You could smoke in the
Oh yeah.
inside. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I think we felt like we had to do something, so we had a shot
The
there.
morning shot. I don't
Yeah.
remember what it was. They didn't have tequila, so we
No, it was it Bekarovka?
did, some type of schnapps
Something
or some
like that.
sort. But anyway,
Yeah.
so it was a great spot though. Really
So
nice.
Loved it.
you kind of informally named this tour. What's the name of the tour?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
The Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it looks like you guys rolled through the area of the Czech Republic where the Budweiser.
Yeah.
And what's the name of that beer again?
Budvar. Budvar.
Budvar, yeah.
And the villages. Well, I think maybe the brewery is Budavais, and the and the beer is Budvar.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
those guys went into battle. Budweiser, American
Oh, yeah.
Budweiser,
Yeah.
and that company went to battle.
Yeah, and the signs say Budweiser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's Budweiser going to do? They copied off of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got the original. That was kind of a sleepy little town. We were surprised, but we did find a good beer hall that had the
Yeah.
original Budvar.
And a cocktail.
Brad was
place,
able to
too.
order that successfully for us. And, a little bit of a language barrier, but we got the beers.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then we had another cocktail bar in that town, which was nice.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Czech and German are the go-to languages, and maybe get lucky to have somebody speak English.
But,
Most people speak English.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But at this dive bar, she didn't.
No. Yeah, you get a little off the grid, and it's less English. But
So is it all cash?
No. In fact, I'd say 90% was you could do Apple Pay or.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes it easy.
At these little home
Right.
spots, no.
Right.
They were cash.
Right.
But other than that, I think we did really well with credit cards for the most part. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I would say in terms of like just the average person listening to this who would think about going to the Czech Republic, I'd say you get in Prague in particular, you can get by just fine in English,
Yeah.
and you could pay for almost everything with a credit card, even Apple Pay. Like I don't think I very late in the game I finally broke down and got some Czech money, but other than that, you wouldn't necessarily have to. If you want to go to the nice dive bars that we went to, you might. But.
right.
And then I think English you can get by really, really well.
Yeah, agree.
Maybe not in the small countryside towns, but
Yeah.
overall, yeah.
So a couple notable stories I think are worth telling. One, back to our original Tang bombs. We ran into a shortage one day of Tang. I don't remember how we did that, but we were low on Tang. We still had Jaeger.
Were you carrying Tang around with you?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I saw the picture. Somebody looked like they were filling up a bottle out of this outside fountain of holy water.
Okay.
That you're right on top of the story, Ray. And
Okay.
we neglected to tell the ugly pagan American story.
Yeah.
But
Now,
what
I want
do
to clarify something because it seems to have been suggested that we used the holy water to make the Tang.
And who suggested that?
I've heard it said.
Was it a priest?
No.
Okay. So,
I'm just saying there was a holy water dispensary with 3 copper mugs, much like a mule mug, and we mixed the Tang and Jaeger in the copper vessel, but we did not use the water. I used the water to rinse the Tang.
Someone's trying to make excuses.
this is
Salvation's not
I'll tell you what.
happening.
This is such a resourceful Ragbri story. I mean, this could have been a Ragbri story so easy.
I mean, the Tang was pre-mixed in
we
this
had
giant
holy
liter.
water Tang bombs.
Yeah.
We had holy water Tang bombs. bombs.
We had holy water Tang bombs. Okay.
And that was kind of the same misadventure where we were took a left in the fork, not a right, and we ended up at the Austrian border, which is great. I mean,
are things still kind of dicey between the Czechs and the Austrians?
Well, it was interesting. As you rode the trail towards the Austrian border, we came across some old razor wire, World War II.
Yeah, I was going to say that it kind of used to be that way between those two.
And then a little further past is the EU sign where the actual border is. So we had a chance to make some Tang bombs in Austria as well.
Yeah.
So that was a good sidebar adventure.
It was.
So when you got into Austria, I mean, there's no guards or anything.
No.
It's just like, welcome to Austria.
Well, this was literally on a bike trail.
Right.
So you're just, but they put the sign there, but that was.
It's the EU. I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah,
yeah.
It's all one big thing. But
wasn't nearly as dicey as Stripes crossing the border.
All right, so we have talked a little bit about what the drinks were over there and what the bars were like. I know in prior discussions we talked about Belgium, kind of like the food entry for them is like cups of meat. What was food like in the Czech Republic for you guys, other than the Carp?
Fantastic. There was great food scene. Schnitzels are super common.
Yeah.
So basically your equivalent of a pork tenderloin, essentially.
Right.
It could be with chicken, veal, pork, lightly breaded, pounded out. Those were great. Dumplings were fantastic. Potato pancakes. Good.
No, I was going to say dumplings, both savory and as a dessert. So like they'd have a dumpling stuffed with ham, or they'd have like a pear dumpling with powdered sugar. I mean, they were both just, yeah.
Yeah, they're sweet dumplings, or sometimes they call them pancakes, like plum pancakes, but they're really almost like a Bavarian cream-filled donut with like a plum and powdered sugar, and they were amazing.
I cannot pronounce the name of these, but it's like an open-faced sandwich. It's either on brown bread or like a baguette-style bread, and they would just do, it might be smoked salmon and capers and onion, or it might be roast beef with horseradish, or it might be, I don't know, they had like chicken ones. They had some veggie ones too. They had these fantastic little, I forget what the name of them were, but they were like these really good open-faced sandwiches like you might see. Denmark has a similar thing, like the smorgasbord sandwiches. They're kind of like that, and the Dutch have a similar thing. But I loved those. Those were like a great lunchtime thing.
So this was lunch.
Those were for lunch.
Oh, okay.
The one of the craziest lunches we had was in that. Wasn't it a Baroque village that they were
UNESCO
talking about?
village?
Yeah, it's a UNESCO city, world city, perfectly preserved kind of little square, and we sat on this wooden kind of terrace, and we had it all. We had
We had a plate of schnitzels, sauerkraut,
the dumpling,
dumplings. Just kind of did a tapas style with these big heavy dishes.
So good.
That's the great thing about the bike riding. We reference Ragbri all the time, but if you ride, you get into a village, and then you just stumble into something that's like a great food scene. The day we detoured to the Austrian border, this beautiful little inn, hotel, outdoor seating area for lunch, and same thing. I mean, we got an amazing spread of lunch. That's where we had the soup and
I mean, the meal that I had there, I think most people would think of it as like punishment if you described it in English. If you knew what the dish was in German, this was a German border or an Austrian border town. So like the guy who served us was Czech, but I think he'd lived many years in Austria, or he was Austrian and lived many years in Czech. So he was speaking German to the guys, and I was just reading the menu, and one of the items that I thought I'd try is garlic soup.
Right.
You don't see that on a lot of menus over here.
No.
Garlic soup. It was garlic, onion, horseradish, rye croutons. It was so good. And then they had, I think, what did they call it? Did they call it fat and onion spread? It was
lard.
like
Toast with lard.
Toast with lard and onion.
Toast with lard and onion.
So I had that too. I thought, well, if I'm going to have the garlic soup, I might as well wash it down with the toast with lard and onion. It was fantastic.
Oh,
I went back to it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was kind of doing it just to see if I could do it. We liked it so much. John and I had the same thing at that cool restaurant that was the Cartoonist.
Mm-hmm.
We had that onion soup. And tartare's a big thing too. Beef tartare.
So how available is beef? I mean, is beef it's pretty rare to get it, or is it?
I don't know. I didn't think it was very elusive.
No, not at all.
There was a lot of beef on
in some of the rural areas. We rode past several
Yeah.
cattle ranch farms and stuff. So yeah, but the beef was on menus, fresh local beef.
Yeah.
And the tartare, that was as good a beef tartare as I've ever had. It was phenomenal. And they serve it with a crunchy bread and a raw garlic bulb.
Yeah.
Oh,
that you
yeah.
scrape on the bread.
Yeah.
And the amount of garlic flavor that imparted to it was phenomenal. I've never seen that presentation before.
And how do they tell you about how to, like, what to do with the garlic? He's like, all
Well,
right, so there's garlic here. What do I do?
Thankfully, Paul told us because
Yes.
like it came in this little tub, and you would have I just thought, oh, do you just take a bite of it? Or do you eat the whole clove? But Paul's like, no, you take it and you scrape the flavor onto the brown tub. It was kind of warm, so it kind of melted into it.
Yeah, we ended up doing tartare several different places, and it was...
So when it gets there, it's just like a piece of steak that's thinly sliced.
No, this is more like an uncooked meatloaf. It's the consistency of a meatloaf.
Like raw burger with onion and...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got some great photos of it.
Egg, onion, Worcestershire, mustard is kind of the ingredients that are mixed or whatever.
And it's just like a meatloaf.
Just think of
except you don't
mom's
pop
meat.
it in it.
It's like eating
think
raw
of mom's
burger.
meatloaf. It just never made it into the oven.
Wow. But you had it before.
Yeah, I think it's notoriously famous in Paris, but I got to tell you something. They could learn a thing or two from
The Czechs.
the Czechs on how to make it because it
was good.
superior to any
good.
that I'd ever had in Paris.
Then you're pairing it with like a nice Kozel brown beer. I don't know. It was just the places.
The brown
we had,
beers were somewhat frowned upon by the locals.
I know,
Though.
I
Brad
liked
was
them.
bucking the
I-
trend. You
I
want
was
to talk
for
ugly
'em.
American moment? I mean, Brad
I was
just
for the brown beers.
insisting on Dunkels.
So
when-
are we talking about lagers when you're talking about brown beers? Or
some were
darker than
Dunkels,
that?
some were
Yeah.
dark lagers.
Yeah,
But
some were dark. I think the Kozel's a dark lager, but I'm not.
in fact,
totally
it
sure.
was brought up at some place that's considered more of a women's drink.
Yes, they
to get
did.
the
They said
dark.
that was for the breastfeeding women.
Yeah.
Right.
So I
will take two, please.
Yes. One for each side. One for each side.
Brad loves life.
Right. So I wasn't ashamed of it.
No, but the pills. And the other thing that's kind of worth noting is the way they pour the beer. Because not only do you order what kind of beer you want, but the degree of head you want on the beer is a separate order. So
Interesting.
the standard is almost about half of the beer
Maybe,
glass.
yeah,
I think that's kind of the traditional, maybe a little less than half.
Yeah.
But they have a certain pour where it's like 90% of it's foam and you let it settle.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting. And a couple of the bars we went to actually had a little thing on the table that, prompted you to make sure you ordered
One of them was
what
called
type
a
of head you
Miko
want.
or something.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that's like almost all froth. Yeah, you just get like 5-10% of it is actual beer.
Well, I would think that there's a couple bartenders in the greater Mount Pleasant area that were far ahead of their time, or at least could have sold their terrible beer pouring skills as a very EU thing to do.
It kind of reminded me of McSorley's in New York, where they serve those beers. They just really pour them really quickly, and it's like half and half. I think that's very, and they have just the brown and the normal lager.
But the final comment I would say on the food for people thinking about a trip like this or going over there is Prague especially is an amazing food city.
Oh, yeah.
But in general, the Czech Republic, the food is phenomenal. Try the local. We can both say maybe you could avoid the carp and we'd give you a pass on that. But aside from that,
It was-
everything we had, even the stuff that we thought was going to be more of an experiment for purposes of talking about on a podcast, turned out to be great. So
Yeah, and if we can post some pictures, but I think the other thing with kind of respect to the food culture too is like coffee is a big deal and like really nice cafes and they always accompany that with some super nice pastries or chocolate. I mean we ate some things I can't even really I think describe accurately.
it was like
to
art
folks.
on a plate.
But it was like like mid-afternoon, 3:00, nice cup of nice double espresso and chocolate with a praline inside, or little pastries that look like a nectarine, or just the pistachio dish. I can't describe them very well, but they were both awesome to look at, but delicious too, and cheap. That's the other thing I was going to say. We ate very, very well for Iowa City prices. You'd be at a restaurant and you'd be like, "Hey, I've paid this much going out in Iowa City, and I had a 3-course meal."
Yeah, all around. It's a little sticker shock because the conversion of Czech crowns. So you'll look at the menu, you'll say 3,000.
Yeah,
you got to do some math in your head. But I think there were a couple of nights we thought we were lighting up a pretty decent bar tab, and a couple $100 US dollars, which we're prone to do more damage than that at George's on a Friday night. So very reasonably priced food and drink,
affordable, good quality.
You guys said that
service.
You would duck into grocery stores in the morning and pick stuff up to put in the panniers, the bags, the bag bags.
Yep.
So do a little hobo food stuff out.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
other fun thing too, is getting local candies.
Yeah.
We came to fall in love with these chocolate milk bars that had different nuts and fruits in them and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a great,
Yeah.
trail riding grub and the chips.
I'm a big dry material chip guy. You know
Right.
that.
And
Did they have any corn
They
nuts,
didn't have-
Brad?
I didn't see. I saw things that were corn nuttish,
Right.
but they didn't have. No, and honestly, I don't think we bought some, but I did spy some. But they had like one of the things I always get a kick out of is just like what flavors do different nationalities put on their potato chips. Like in the UK, you can get like cheese and onion. And
Right.
You can get ketchup. I think. As well.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
very popular.
And they had this one. I can't remember what it was billed as,
The-
but we called it lasagna. It tasted like a lasagna chip.
Red chili is what it
Well,
said.
okay.
So we were kind of blown away by the flavor when we opened it, because
Yeah.
it was red chili was what it said, and it was
It
definitely like lasagna.
It was like It was like a lasagna chip. It was awesome. Yeah.
Brad, could you imagine what kind of earth-changing momentum you could have given that country if you could have introduced Tang and corn nuts all in the same week?
Right.
Yeah, we
I
should
know.
have packed corn nuts.
That's reason enough to go back.
Right.
Yeah. Another bike tour.
Exactly. Yeah, it was great.
So I think one thing we haven't talked about yet was there's 4 dudes. What were the sleeping arrangements over there? Because what I have in my head is only based on like National Lampoon's European Vacation. Like small little beds, bathroom at the end of the hallway.
Okay, we weren't quite that bad.
Oh, I was going to say the beds look way bigger on the silver screen, right?
So what were your accommodations like?
First of all, the hotels were all nice that they arranged
Yes.
for us, right? They were very nice accommodations.
They were.
And there was a few really interesting ones. One night we had a room. So Brad and I were bunkmates. This room was one of the largest hotel rooms I'd ever stayed at.
Yes.
It had a mat. It was like walking into a parlor. High ceilings, like
Yeah.
15-foot ceilings.
In the very center of
Massive-
town, it's like in one of the oldest buildings. Got to be in the place.
Yeah. Grand kind of parlor room. And then there was like a walk-through hallway with like a walk-in closet, and then into this bathroom that was bigger than what a normal hotel would be.
Right.
A hot tub,
Yeah.
a walk-in shower,
Right.
all black tile. It was
Yeah.
really something else. And for all that square footage, the bed was like a twin bed
Right.
in the middle.
It was two twins kind of butted.
Yeah, two
Well,
twins. Yeah,
Because you don't need much of a bed when you're in the honeymoon suite, boys.
absolutely. Those aren't pillows.
Oh yeah.
And you may have mentioned it when we were recording earlier. Brad's been battling a bad back.
Yeah.
And it held up fine. But one of the deterrents is he needs to like stretch out and be
Right.
like, he's like a starfish at night, kind of stretch that thing out. So I told him I was going to Venmo him 25% for the hotel rooms because that's all the bet I got.
I'm looking at a picture here that you sent me, and Brad is sleeping.
Yeah.
He's sleeping
No, I'm in my
corner to corner.
I'm in my upright toothpick mode.
He's got a beer balanced on his chest, sleeping, and he looks like Nosferatu.
So that
he looks like he's a vampire getting ready to wake up.
that picture,
I've done that a million times on Ragbri.
that was Friday night in Chesky Krublov. That was the night of the Tang Bomb, so we introduced them to the Tang Bomb at the cocktail bar.
Yeah.
There was a little issue of the Hawkeyes playing a football game that night that kicked off at 2:00 in the morning.
Boy, I would have loved to
Czech
send the
Republic.
math when you guys were trying to figure out the international date lines for that.
So, we had a VPN and an iPad ready to go. But we left the cocktail bar like at midnight. We had a little time to kill before kickoff, so we found a gypsy bar that was open.
Yes, the Gypsy Bar.
Got a
unplanned.
couple rounds there before they shut down business.
So
Right.
what is it? Did they have live music, or was it just?
They do. It was done. The musician was done when we got there, but there
Yeah.
was a little setup where a dude was
Yeah.
playing. But it was a great little,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's called dive bar, but it was
Yeah.
a wood exposed beam type.
Right.
Yeah, it was like a
arch ceiling
country
situation.
lodge kind of feel
yeah,
to
it
it.
was really cool.
And there was when we were staying in Prague, where we stayed in a pretty contemporary hotel, right across the street was a bar, and they called themselves Gypsy, but like you said, Gypsy Bar, like they're advertising.
Right.
This is the Gypsy Bar, and they did have live music. We went in there and heard this guy going for it on the kind of like jazz thing happening, and then this other one. I guess we found out after the fact that Rick Steves had
Yeah.
talked about it in his guide,
it was
and
one
we
of-
didn't
in one of
we
his
hadn't read
videos.
ahead.
Right.
I should say this. Brent, the professor, did read ahead, and he would give us almost assigned readings before we would go into, for example, the Jewish cemetery in Prague, and
Right.
you read up on kind of the history and so forth.
Right.
And he was doing that when we were in Dresden and when we were doing different cultural things, and it was definitely helpful to give yourself a little context. But we hadn't read about this. He hadn't read about this place, and it just is one of those places that, like,
You stumbled into. And
my
it was-
nose kind of just, kind of found.
Yeah.
And then after the fact, we were reading about it.
We left the cocktail bar and there was noise coming down a dark alley. Chesky Krumlov is an amazing little village.
Beautiful.
Quiet at night,
Picturesque.
but then you'd find little pockets like this cocktail bar that are full of people. But if you're walking down the streets, and when I called my wife and was Becky and talking to her, I told her it felt to me like walking around like the Magic Kingdom at closing time. It was like no one on the streets, and it felt like you're in an amusement park. It was that picturesque and
Yeah.
kind of fairy tale
That
like.
genuine, that they
But-
couldn't be replicated unless you're.
No.
We're walking down this little brick street, heading back to the hotel, and to Brad's point, he hears a disturbance in the force, and there's some noise and a dim light emanating down an alley, and we go down there, and sure enough, there was a
Rambled
gypsy
in.
bar packed, and
Yeah.
we got in, had a few, and then we retreated back. They were closing. Eventually, they closed. We went back to our hotel, our 5,000 square foot room. It had these two amazing, I forgot to mention.
the velvet red
like
chairs.
these velvet red thrones.
Right.
Two of them in the middle of the room.
Were those supposed to be beds?
Yeah, they were more spacious than the beds. But so we sat out. I got the iPad queued up with pregame for the Iowa. We popped a couple Budvars. Brad got up, and I heard the snoring. I looked, and then he's
That picture.
supine on
Right.
the bed, holding
Yeah.
his beer. And the
Did-
impressive thing was
Didn't fill a drop.
for like 3 hours, he slept like that, holding a beer upright. His father- it was
As a married
fantastic.
man, I know how I go about telling my wife, "Hey, listen, you can't sleep diagonally." But how do you go about it? Telling your buddy, you gotta.
You never
relinquish-
mentioned it. Now, this is the first time hearing this, John. Come on.
So you woke up in the morning and John's in the corner of the room, like, "Well, that's odd. Why do you sleep there?"
It was like late in the first half, and I drank all the beers in the room. I had to gently take that out of his hand and drink it. It's like felt like I was taking the candy bar from the
John's
corpse.
John's got a hand towel over the top of it, covered up. Brad's sleeping diagonally. Both pillows under his
I don't
head.
think
Yeah.
either one of us will watch planes, trains, and automobiles the same
Right.
again.
Right. Ah.
So it was great. And then there were we were talking about the hotels. A lot of them, every night they were quaint bedding accommodations. But that one room was pretty unique in the fact that it was so
Yeah.
huge. And still
Could
had a
you
tiny
not have
bed.
just, yeah.
Had it always been a hotel? Could you tell, or was it a government building at some point? Or
I
Good question.
I don't know.
I'm not sure the answer to that.
Yeah. I don't
every
know.
once in a while, you go over to Europe and they figure out really creative ways to repurpose
Yeah.
their buildings.
Like, I don't remember. Did you come down? You didn't come down to breakfast there, did you? Did you? The hall that
yeah.
they had the breakfast room in too was massive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was. I don't know.
Do they really don't have, although they're kind of German, Austrian adjacent, they don't have the big beer halls like Germany does, right?
No.
Nope, I would say
Nope.
more quaint bar pub
Kinda like
settings.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. 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 Because it was kind of Oktoberfest-ish timing, and then
Mhm.
you didn't see anything like that.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, but no, the hotels, they were all great.
Great breakfast.
Fun fact, if you watch the original Mission Impossible, which I watched
yeah.
on the flight home, and like
Yeah.
the whole first 15, 20 minutes is
Yeah.
at our hotel that we stayed at in Prague.
Oh,
which
interesting.
Kind of
So
serves as the backdrop outside the U.S. Embassy in the movie, but
The most iconic symbol of Prague, probably. I mean, there's buildings, but like architecturally is the Charles Bridge. It's got all these statues lining it. It kind of connects the old town with this area called Kampa, I think it was called, which is where we stayed. And so there's these steps that go down from the Charles Bridge to this little area that's developed. It's got restaurants and pubs and stuff like that, and a great cafe. And that's where we stayed. And so that's the scene in Mission Impossible.
really, like they're literally the whole. And it's kind of funny in the movie. It makes it look like it's separate locations, but it's
Yeah.
all happening like right there
Yeah.
in front of the same place.
What do you guys do with your bikes at night? Where are those at? Are they? The
They
hotels
had like
have-
each hotel.
Each hotel would have a
take 'em.
storage spot for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so they go inside. They're not out
Yeah.
on a rack or
They were
anything.
secured somewhere.
I assume to walk around is pretty safe, but I would also imagine that you want to keep things locked up.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, I would say there was a reasonable amount of folks biking around in Prague.
Oh,
When you
for
say-
sure.
It's the bike culture, especially in those like Český Budovice, which I think is where the Budweiser. I'm not saying it right. Budovice, I think it's called. Paul would correct me. Anyway, that whole area, as we were coming in on these bike trails, had all these like sports fields. There was actually a couple of. I was really surprised to see this, like baseball fields. There were kids out playing.
Interesting.
Playing baseball.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Playing sand volleyball. There was like a whitewater rafting kind of setup where people were shooting these rapids, and it was like a sports complex. And so the trail system was really well developed going in and out of that place. As we exited, headed the different direction, there were like all these little stands set up every, I don't know, mile or so, where you could tell on a Friday night or a Thursday night or whatever, people were stopping and just have beer. You know, they weren't all open when we were leaving in the mornings, but I was like really impressed with like kind of the outdoor active endeavors in that area.
And there was a couple different places where we saw kayak, whitewater kayak racing, like Olympic sport type kayak racing. So that's obviously huge over there.
I think for the most part, I think the outside is probably in Europe. What I noticed was kind of like their first go-to. Like they wouldn't say, "Hey, let's go to a trampoline park." Their first thing was like, "Let's go outside." And
for sure. Yeah.
But back to the bike, everywhere we went, extremely safe. Prague is a
Yeah.
very, very safe city. We walked around late at night, all that. Petty theft, pickpocketing would be like in a lot of European cities, your biggest watch out. But other than that,
yeah, it is interesting, Europe, how small it is. I mean, there's some countries it's like the equivalent of driving from Devonport to Council Bluffs, as far as
absolutely.
and the diversity of people and languages and
Yeah.
the cultures are so kind of crazy, but it's
Yeah, it was interesting being with Paul and Brent, who lived there, spent a lot of time there, because they were picking out the different nationalities just based off mannerisms and accents and stuff. Which is kind of fun. Oh, they're Dutch.
I felt like I
Belgian.
got decent at that, detecting other nations speaking English. Like I can tell a Dutch person speaking English or a Swedish person speaking English, and they can pick up that in German or in Czech or whatever, and English too. But yeah, I mean, when I lived in Belgium, if you went, I think it was 45 minutes to an hour in any direction from Brussels, you're not in Belgium anymore, right? So
the two qualifiers. This is the early to mid 90s for me when I was in England. The two qualifiers were what type of tennis shoes were they wearing, and how heavy did they smell like smoke? Because that would kind of tell. That would be their giveaway from just where exactly they were from. But I'm sure it's all
that's changed a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with that.
All right. Anything else, boys?
Got anything else, Brad? I think we've
think so.
covered all the bases.
Yeah.
That's the trip. It was awesome. Highly recommend.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody. Let's do a real quick speed round.
All right.
All right, so here we are. Here's the speed round. The boys talked about the inability to escape the Czech Republic's national passion, the carp. Even showing me pictures of carp food trucks, which if you'd think a restaurant couldn't get carp right, getting it right in a food truck I think would be even more difficult.
For sure.
I'll never be able to look at like a bathtub again that doesn't have a shower on it to not think like somebody trying to keep a carp alive for like 6 days in their bath.
I don't think. Do you compromise the shower for 6 days, or do you just bathe with the carp?
Yeah, shower with the carp.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the carp like just like in this big pond and like all of a sudden somebody grabbing it and like, oh, I guess we're going somewhere. Like, okay, where are we at? What's going on? Why am I getting fed dry dog food every 2 days? All right, so here we are. So I'm going to give you 4 fish.
Okay.
3 are real fish and 1 I made up.
Oh, great.
All right. So is this a real fish? The sarcastic fringe head. The sarcastic fringe head. Is it a real fish or not?
Okay.
The next one, the blue bastard. Is the blue bastard a real fish?
Okay.
The next one, the scrotal fangtooth. The scrotal fangtooth.
Woke up to that every morning in the Czech Republic.
Well, let's see if there's a comment about this last one. The slippery dick. One of those I made up. The other 3 are real, actual fish. All right. So we'll start with our first one, the sarcastic fringe head. Brad, is that a real fish?
No.
The sarcastic fringe head is a small but very hardy saltwater fish that has a large mouth. It's aggressive with its territorial behavior and has supposedly earned its funny name by being elusive.
Okay.
Well, there you have it. I went no as well, by the way.
All right, the blue bastard is the blue bastard. So both of you guys, these are going to be real fish.
I'm a yes on the rest. Yeah.
All right.
I
So
think blue bastard
Sounds like something you'd find at the Great Barrier Reef.
The blue bastard is a common name for a species of sweet-lipped found in northern Australian waters. The
There you
name
go.
blue bastard comes from the fish's
There you go.
blue color and its reputation for being difficult to catch.
Team Commonwealth,
There you
if you're
go.
listening. Right.
The scrotal,
Rowan.
Yes.
the scrotal fangtooth. That's the made up.
I got to go no. I was a no on that. So.
Yeah, I made that up. And then the slippery dick is a real fish. This giggling-induced fish. It gets its unique name from a slippery mucus it excretes to help evade predators. Slippery dicks are a shallow reef dweller that grows up to a foot long. So look out for the foot-long slippery dick.
Right.
The slippery dick is a hermaphroditic fish, meaning they can start out their own lives and can change sexes for mating behaviors.
Eats like a meal.
Right.
There you go.
All right. You got it all out of your system?
I
think so. Good
Kind of
sesh.
craving carp and brown beer.
Well, thank you for sharing your vacation with us. You guys, I hope you're starting to plan the next one.
Yeah, there were lots of musings of potential return to Czech, maybe Japan, which I think would be awesome. All kinds of ideas. So yeah,
Stay tuned.
I'm gonna get on chat and see which countries have smaller beds than the Czech Republic. All right, thanks, guys.
All right.